All right, so good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tucson Audubon's presentation of Show Us Your Birds. We always start off all of our events, whether they be in person or virtual, by telling you about our mission and why we do the things that we do. It's quite simple. We're out here to inspire people to enjoy and protect birds. Like I said, whether we're out on a patch or whether we're sharing the birds that we've seen together, we feel like it's a great way to build community and make us care about these birds and the places that we see them, and we want to protect them moving forward. Um, Today's going to be a little over an hour. We're basically Luke's put together a PowerPoint for us. Everybody's sent in their pictures. Um, we'll basically go through the PowerPoint, and when you see your picture come up on the screen, go ahead, unmute yourself, and give us your story of your bird. Luke will tell us a little bit more about it, but I'll go ahead and turn it over to you now, Luke.
Right on. Thanks, Danito. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to today's event because it's not. Ooh, actually, hey, I want to let me. I need to reshare because I need to make sure I share with audio, and I want to make sure I start with where I want to start. I was putting in some last minute pictures. Uh, Thank you to all of you who submitted pictures because that's what makes this event like really fun and yeah, makes it happen. So, and we have like over 40 different pictures. Well, actually, I had to limit it to like three at the most from each person. But we have well over 40 pictures. So we'll see how far we get. Oh, doggone it. I keep on sharing email. Holy smoke. There's so much going on here. I apologize. All right. You don't want to see my email. All right. Is that showing us the right thing?
Yep.
Shows your bird right there, birds and
Yep.
community. Okay. Fabulous. All right. Let me get back on track. So yeah, thanks, Danito, for running the tight ship here and me trying to mess it up. If I haven't met you before, welcome. My name is Luke Safford, Director of Engagement for Tucson Audubon. And really, the best part about what we do is hanging out, talking with each other, looking at birds, both in the field. But today we're going to look at birds right here on our computer screen. So that's fun too. And it's always good to hear stories, whether it's at, you know, sitting down over a cup of coffee or birds and beer. But I don't know if you have coffee. I have coffee with me. I don't have a beer with me today. I have coffee only on my third cup. So that's probably why I need to get my thoughts in order. Too much coffee. But so what I'll ask you guys to do is when we'll kind of be going through all these different pictures that people have and stories, and we'll talk about it, ask questions. But as we move through, when yeah, I'll call out on you to kind of walk us through what you experienced when we see the birds that you sent to us, and we'll have fun with it. Kind of ask some questions, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward. And we're going to start off with my friend Scott. Scott, as he said earlier, if you're here, he goes to Fort Lowell quite a bit. And I believe you had a really amazing experience with Cooper Sox. Scott, you want to share this
Yeah,
with
yeah. Like I said, this is from Fort Lowell. This is not an unusual bird or an unusual sighting, particularly. But when I was walking through the pecan grove there in the east part of the park, why I had a Cooper sock kerfuffle. Uh, can you go to the
us?
next picture, Luke?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so this, I believe, is a female. The ones that are all fluffed out, it's really hard to tell, to estimate size and face color. But I believe this is female, and I'm going to call her she. She flew in with this bit of carcass, and that there was a lot of calling and screeching, and there was a lot of just a lot of hubbub. Go back to that first picture then. Oh, this one's fine. The first picture, yeah, is
Do you want
that
the
first
first
picture.
one or?
That first picture you saw was actually I believe, was the male. It seems to have a grayer face, but like I say, when they're fluffed out, it's really hard to determine their gender. Anyway, he appeared to be stalking. He actually flew up into the tree and making the female disgorge or drop the carcass. You can go to the next one and then the following one.
Yeah,
Now,
this one's amazing.
she dropped down to the carcass and mantled it. You can see a bit of the wing down there in the bottom, just underneath her right wing. And she was calling pretty vociferously, and and protecting that carcass from the male. Now I don't know whether this was uh, a pair or they were having. There are a couple of nesting pairs in Fort Lowell, and whether this was an altercation between two groups or just the male and the female, being lovey-dovey, but wasn't very lovey-dovey. Anyway, she's calling there out there, and you have one more picture. Oh, you want to play it? Go ahead.
Yeah, you want to play it?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a third one too? Were
Yeah,
there
there
three?
was another one in the area that I believe flew in because there was but I did only got pictures of the two. And we'll go to the final one. You still
Oh,
have
I
it
don't
open?
know. I think that might be the final
That's
one
it.
that I have
Okay,
on here.
that's fine. And so she is protecting that prey from the other one who was still stalking around. But they had quite a bit of consternation between the two birds, and I just stood there very still. I got a video of this, got the audio, and did some photos. And then while they were still discussing terms of who's going to eat the rest of that carcass, I went ahead and backed out of there just to let them get on with their day. So it was a really interesting close up and personal view of what goes on with these birds.
Was this picture with your phone or was that how
No, no,
close were you?
that's all those were taken with my. I have a Sony bridge camera,
Okay.
so they
Okay.
were taken, and the audio was just done with my phone.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it to have that kind of interaction is so much uh yeah, so much better to watch the interaction rather to I mean you can identify it, but like to watch the interaction and just enjoy
yeah.
it. Like that must have been a really cool experience.
It was good. I think you saw the video, which that I did of that was just a handheld video from my camera, but maybe we'll play that one some other day then.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. I mean, Fort Lowell being right in town, it's such a great park to go and visit. And the bird and animal behavior there is like top notch. I really like this one. So one last question, Scott, were you able to identify what type of bird it was eating?
No, I can't. It was other than deceased. But in those gray wings that are there, that might have been one of the local rock doves, the rock pigeons.
Yeah. Would you be sad
Gary,
about that or would you be happy about that?
there's usually 50 to 60 of them there. So
Right.
Gary V asked a question
Yeah.
in the video in the chat with what camera was it? It was indeed a Sony RX10.
Very cool. That's great. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to Vernie. Vernie, you got share us your Thrasher story here.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the reasons why I had shared it as well was I know this is a pretty hard bird. It can be a hard bird to ID. I'm in the field a lot for people too, so was another one of the reasons why I shared it. But yeah, that was out on Reservation Road, which is out in Marana,
Yeah.
which can be a pretty good spot for. It's kind of like I call it our local thrasher spot since Phoenix has one as well. I've had three species of thrasher out there before. Um, and this was just an early morning drive along the road. These guys were up kind of singing on the fence post there early in the morning.
Let's show people where Reservation Road is at. How's that?
Sure.
Because it's not a really well-known spot, but it's kind of like, if I remember right, it's on the west side of Saguaro National Park.
Correct. And
And
then
I think,
yeah, so where it says go back where it says Ironwood National Monument entrance,
yeah.
and that airplane park. So it's that right
Oh,
there.
here it is right here. Yeah. It's a mile wide road is just on the west side of Saguaro, and there's like here I'll switch to a different layer, but there's like these like recharge basin. Sometimes it has water here.
Mhm.
And yeah, this can be a good spot, but you're talking about as you go to the end a mile wide and then you go north on the
North, correct.
reservation.
Yep. Yeah, and then it's generally if you go up a little further north, usually kind of it's between where that turnoff to that little RC airfield is.
Right
Um,
here.
yeah, so from there north to like the paved road, so like that mile, mile and a half is usually the stretch that I see him in. So yeah,
I'll scroll
anywhere
back
like north of there to Manville Road is usually the section there.
so people can get an idea of where it's at. You can see Tucson over here
Well, how
to
do
the
you turn
east.
on
You
the
got Miranda up to the north. Yeah.
power for
So
this
Bendire's Thrasher.
volume?
Bendire's Thrasher. That's ways out there, dude.
Yeah. But definitely one of the closest spots I think in town and for Tucson for him for sure.
Yeah. So what, walk us through an ID for
Hold
this.
on. Volume.
I mean, I think most of us are familiar with like curb bill thrasher, but what separates it from
Yeah,
curb bill?
that's the closest one that people get them confused with would be a curb bill thrasher, and it can be a little bit tougher even with a juvenile curb bill thrasher because their bill's not as long. Um, the one of the big factors is the lower mandible on these bend dyers. Um, I don't know if you can zoom in on there or not, but
I
it's
I
it's
can't.
very it's very straight, very flat there, and it's much shorter than a curb bill thrasher bill as well. So overall, it has that shorter, straighter, stouter look to it. Uh,
Right.
and then as well, it has that kind of that pale spot kind of where the bill meets the face there as well. That can be another one of the marks. They do also, I think, present a little bit lighter overall than a curve billed thrasher. Um, that's a little bit more variable. I think it can be a little bit harder ID, but
Hmm.
generally they always show a little bit lighter in my opinion. And I think the behavior is potentially a little bit different. I feel like they stay on the ground a little bit more than a curb-billed thrasher, almost like in between a LeConte that seems like it never wants to leave the ground, and a curb-billed thrasher that seems like it doesn't have a problem kind of being wherever. These guys will
Right.
tend to be on the ground a little bit more. But yeah, the big thing I always look for is that bottom mandible of the bill. Is trying to see if it's real short and kind of straight like that if you can get them out. Um,
Yeah, it does look like that. So the mandible, like we don't use mandible a lot unless we're actual birders, right? So to just define that the lower mandible is like this lower part of the bill, and then the upper mandible, of course, the upper, but like either side. It does look like the upper one like extends further than the bottom one. Like it kind of like just barely droops over the top of it.
there's a slight droop to it.
That's great, man. Dude,
Yeah,
you could be a bird guide or something the way that
I
you
could. Yeah, I'll give it a
actually you
shot.
are with Naturalist Journeys. You
I
are.
am.
You are, yeah.
Yeah, we just finished a tour last week. 153 species, so it was a good tour.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Does anyone have questions for Vernie about Reservation Road or Bendire's Thrasher? Open that up. All
I have
right.
a quick question,
People are
man.
asking,
Oh yeah, go for it.
or go
Well,
ahead.
just so that little that the crest that we're seeing, that's a result of the wind blowing, right? We
Correct.
normally
Yep.
wouldn't see that any sort of a crest like that, right? It would more be
Correct. Yep. Yeah, that's the wind blowing. Yep.
cool. Just want to
The
clarify.
the iris, I guess, is a little bit paler on a bend iris, but I have a really hard time seeing the difference there. I usually don't go off of that. I mean, if you can get a really good picture, but usually if your picture is good enough to tell the difference there, you're going to be able to see the bill well enough anyways to give you an ID. And then if we were telling people what cameras I was using, a Nikon Z8 is what camera I was shooting with there.
Good. Whenever someone mentions what camera they're using, it's like mumbo jumbo to me, but I know it's important. So thank you.
Yeah.
Right on. Appreciate it. So we have another Thrasher coming up. Dawn, I think I saw you on the call. You want to
Yeah.
walk us through what you saw here?
Yeah. So, um,
I don't live in Arizona. I'm actually visiting from California, staying in Patagonia for a few weeks to do some
Cool.
birding. And my friend from Vermont, um, who's like an expert birder, and I'm like a beginning birder, he came to stay here for a bit and we did some birding. And he went to school in Tucson about 20 years ago and he called this his nemesis bird. So it was one of his top priorities to see on our trip. And we got it pretty easily. Uh, Kind of lucked out and he perched up there real nice, got some good looks at him. Um,
Yeah,
the
so share with people where you're at. And I know I have a question mark on here, but there shouldn't be a question mark anymore because I asked you where you saw it and that helped me to
Yeah, I didn't
just
tell
kind
you
of
what the bird
confirm.
was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was in Montosa Canyon. And
yeah, Montosa.
yeah, we don't normally take pictures, but we got he has a scope and we got his adapter and he wanted to get it capture his nemesis bird
That's
finally
perfect.
catching it. So
So
the thing that stuck out.
Montosa is right here in the Santa Rita Mountains for people that may not everyone I think everyone knows where Madera is at. Madera is right here. And then Montosa just on the other side of Elephant
Down,
Head.
down there, yeah, where the
Yep.
Whipple Observatory is.
Yep. Just on the other side of that big elephant head that you see south of Madera. And my guess is that you guys saw it maybe right around the culvert area right in here.
I think so. We didn't go that far up the road and it was just
Yeah.
right off the main road. Um, so
Awesome. So
yeah.
what stood out to you about let me get back to the actual bird. What
Yeah, it's
stood
not
out to you about
the
the IDing it as a crystal thrasher?
it's not the greatest picture, but for me, I could see like the peachy undertail coverts, which stood out for me, and
Yeah.
I'm sure my friend could tell you a lot more about me, but
I
I take
can
his
make
word.
out like a really, really curved bill right there.
Yeah,
Really curved.
very
And
yeah.
then just a hint of like, because it is backlit, but like I could see a little bit of a black whisker right there. That
Hmm.
Yeah,
looked
it's
really
got
cool
that
for
white
it.
mustache stripe. Yeah.
When I first saw this, without like looking at the head, what really stood out to me was the tail. I mean, look at that tail. It looks like almost like if it was just a little bit bigger and a little bit longer, it almost looked like a squirrel cuckoo tail. Just like I've never seen a crystal thrasher tail that big.
Hmm.
So I don't know if when you're in the field, if you notice like how big that tail was.
I didn't, but I've only seen one other thrasher, so I'm
That's
learning.
it's a good bird. It's a good bird.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
yeah, thanks for sharing that, Don. And
thank you guys.
how long are you in town? Are you going to be
A couple
birding some
more
more?
weeks.
Yeah,
Oh, I sure am. I signed up for some field trips with you guys, so thanks.
fantastic. Good. All right. So we all had kind of have a nemesis bird. Anyone else have a maybe someone who didn't submit a picture, anyone have a nemesis bird that they're hoping to get? I know that's off the cuff, but anyone have something like that? Oh, sorry, Scott. I muted you. Sorry.
We go. I've been chasing black rail for I don't know how long, and keep, I keep going over to that area just north of Yuma and never getting it. But and I've chased it in Texas and in Delaware and Arizona. One of these days I'll get one.
One of these days, man, you and me.
it
Anyone else? Anyone else have a
I was gonna
nemesis
say
bird?
it seems like the common nemesis bird in the chat is the Montezuma quail.
Okay, yeah, I heard someone else tell me that the other day. Oh, maybe it was Corey.
But yeah, Corey put it in the chat. She was
Okay,
one of the
yeah,
ones in
she
the
was telling me
chat.
that.
I chased that white ibis in Phoenix 5 times and never got it.
That's
So
a lot of gas, man. That's a
it's
lot of
too
fuel
much.
get going back and forth.
Yeah. Still don't have it here in Arizona.
All right. All right. Let's go to the next. Ooh. Yeah. I told Danito, he was telling me about he wanted to share a Roadrunner story. And I was like, dude, just wait. Beth sent in the most amazing Roadrunner pictures I've ever seen. and she has a really cool story about her Roadrunner that she named. So Beth, you want to share a little bit about your Roadrunner experience? Pretty sure I saw you on here. Go ahead and unmute yourself there. There you
Okay,
go.
here I am.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been going steady for a year, this Roadrunner and I. He first showed up. I live in Green Valley and I live right next to an arroyo. Oh, I guess here you call them a wash. And so I get a lot of critters that come in because I have water. I have 3 different water stations. Um, so, I get, well, pretty much everybody. I'll look out and there'll be a coyote looking in at me. Anyhow, this roadie showed up and I didn't, all I knew was that I was looking at a giant cuckoo. And so I didn't know what his song was, but I looked at him and I went, cuckoo, cuckoo. And he was curious and he walked right up to me and he cocked his head. And when I went inside later to find out what they really sound like, even though the door was closed, he heard the cuckoo sound coming out of my computer, the Roadrunner sound, and he ran away because he thought he was in somebody else's territory.
Oh.
So from then on, I didn't try to imitate a real one. I just came up with our song, so to speak. And so whenever he comes, here he is, my little pterodactyl. Um, Whenever he comes to visit, he always comes to find me first. And even if he comes 4 times a day, I'm a wildlife illustrator. My studio has a lot of windows. And so if I don't get out the door fast enough, he will jump up on the table outside one of the windows and peer in because then we're eye to eye. So I did not give him any treats for the first 30 days because I was curious to see if he was interested in me or would just see me as a food source. And by the way, food source is just mealworms. I never give him anything else.
Yeah.
And since I give mealworms to everybody else, I figured, that was okay. So I started making up rules for myself that I would never touch him, that I would never make him do tricks for food, that he just, as long as he wanted to come visit me, that was great. And so if he'd eaten, meaning if he shows up and his beak is bloody or there's blood on his chest or feet, he stays longer. I mean, he still wants the treats, but he'll if I'm willing to sit with him now. So as you see him here, I'm sitting in a chair right next to him, and
That's incredible.
he's perfectly comfortable. But if I reach my hand out, he jumps back. He doesn't go away, but that's one of the rules is don't touch me. So I started by sprinkling the food on the ground, and he would come really close. I mean, he would eat from in between my feet as long as I was very still. And then one day, months after we started this, I was holding a mealworm and I was looking at it, going, oh, look at the little feet. These are dried, not fresh. And I wasn't thinking, and I held it out to him between my fingers and I said, what do you think? And he took it from me.
Wow.
20,
Wow.
20 times over. And then he let me know that he preferred to be fed that way. He doesn't want it from the palm of my hand. He'll certainly eat the ones off the ground that he drops, but he likes it one by one. And my theory is that either a mother, either a parent, or in courtship would be giving food like that,
Yeah.
presenting food. And so he came. He first showed up at the end of October in 2023, and he came pretty much every day for 3 months. And as I said, if he wasn't hungry, we would sit outside together for 2 hours. My cat hates him because my cat can see from inside that I have
Jealous.
another boyfriend. And the reason I'm saying boy, because obviously I have no proof because I've never seen him with another roadrunner, is he came for 3 months, and then during nesting season he was gone for 3 months. And when he came back, he looked really ratty. And you know how they build their nests in protected places. So going back and forth, because he's going to sit the nest at night, he's going to provide food during the day, going back and forth pulls at the feathers. And his tail looked especially ratty, even when he
Hmm.
wasn't molting. So, I was hoping he was going to come back with another roadie, and I might be able to tell, if they were in courtship mode, what was going on. But otherwise, there's no way to tell. But he's so after a year, and then he was on for 3 months, then off for 3 months, then here for a month. Sometimes he'll show up for 10 days. He doesn't call, he doesn't write. I don't know where he goes. Um, I haven't seen him since November 2nd. And every day, I'm like the girl waiting for the guy to call. Why, why isn't he here? Uh, and so when the year went by, I hadn't seen him for a number of months. He showed up again, and I swear to you, when I came to the door and came outside, he danced around in little circles like a happy puppy. And so I've taken more pictures of this guy than any human I've ever been involved with. And so on Facebook, I've got a year of videos and pictures and stories about Rhodey. And I posted a video that now has had 20,000 views, maybe
Whoa.
because I called it lap dance. So that might be part of the reason. But he was standing on the edge of the table as you see him, and I was feeding him, and he dropped a piece in my lap, and for the first time ever he bent over and picked it up off of me. And so I took out another mealworm, and I hadn't put it forward yet, and he jumped into my lap. And I mean, I can die happy
That's pretty
now.
cool. Yeah. Wow. That's
so
a
that's
great story, man.
that's my guy. And
Roadie.
yep, and he does, like, I sing to him, and uh it seems to, if he's kind of jumpy, because he's always very aware, um it seems to calm him, and he looks right at me when I'm singing to him. And and I mean, here he kind of looks like he's smiling. I don't think that's exactly what's going on. And he also he generally does not eat in front of me if he catches a critter. He takes it into the arroyo and hides when he eats it. And he rarely catches anything. By the way, these birds, they're like little kids. They look with their beak. And so I've watched him, poke at things, but I've watched him not catch a lizard, not catch a king snake, uh, not catch many hummingbirds, who are totally aware of him. They fly over the table and they hover, and they look at him, and they go, "Oh, well, he's here. We're just gonna, like, stay away."
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Beth. I just want to scroll back, look at those. This one, especially with it's all puffed up. That's an
Cold
incredible
day,
picture. Yeah,
cold
right.
day.
That could have been this morning.
Yeah, this I call this his chicken imitation.
And Beth, before you go away, Carol was asking in the chat, how long
Oh,
have you known Rhodey again? How
I,
long have you and Rhodey been an item?
we've been going steady since October 22nd of
Over under.
2023.
Awesome. So over
Very
a year,
cool.
Yeah.
or right at a year. Sweet.
Yep, we're at a year.
Thanks again, Beth. We really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right. Hey, Doris, I saw you're on with us. Right in your backyard, too, you had an elf owl. You want to share about that? Oh, you're on mute. Sorry about that. There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
I had only seen elf owls a few times in the wild and no photos. I had lots of photos of screech owls and great horned owls, but no elf owl. And then one June day, I had my window open and I was taking pictures of the birds in my front yard with my telephoto lens. And after a bit, I left the room and I neglected to close the window, even though I had my air conditioning on. And sometime later, I came back into the room and I just stopped in my tracks. There on the windowsill stood this elf owl. He was taking in this wonderful cool breeze coming from inside the house. I thought I was seeing things. So I slowly took a couple more steps and I picked up my camera and I was able to get one shot, and it was a telephoto, so it took in the whole frame. I got this one shot and it flew off and I never saw it again, even though for the rest of the day I left that window open as the air conditioning came back. And so I finally got my elf owl picture in the middle of a hot day from inside of my house. Go figure.
That's incredible, Doris. So it's because, like you said, it takes up the whole picture. You're so close.
Yeah, that's the picture. Yeah.
So it feels really big, but could you somehow share with all of us like how small it was? Because
Oh,
like they're really small, right?
yeah. I don't know if you can see my hand there. Yeah, maybe about like that. Really tiny. And of course, he looked, as you can see, he's staring right at me. And anyway, that was the biggest surprise.
Yeah. So it was on the outside of the
Yeah, you
window.
can
It
see
wasn't like in your house.
yeah, you can see the windowsill. Yeah, he
Yeah.
wasn't inside,
Yeah.
but he was within inches.
Yeah, it's incredible. Has anyone ever had like any other birds like stand on their house like they're like or like that close to their house that you just couldn't believe it? Because that's a pretty incredible story. Anyone else had? I mean, Roadrunner was really close. Elf
I've had a
Owl.
roadrunner came in our kitchen last year when we
It
had the
came in your
patio door
house.
open. Yeah, and then it was like trapped in the kitchen. We had to shoo him back outside.
Oh wow. Anyone else have a house bird like that? No, I think Doris takes it right there. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. All right, let's move away from the house, away from the United States, and let's move to Africa. Cheryl, you want to share with us about your Africa experience? I'm hoping you're on the call. Let's see. Oh, Cheryl, you might be on mute. I think I see
There we
her.
go. Okay.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, I'll quick throw in my nemesis bird story. I was going to put a picture of a kingfisher here. I live in Florida and sit in Fort Myers over on the West Coast, and we have kingfishers all over the place, but trying to photograph those birds is an absolute nightmare. They will not sit still, and you get anywhere near them and they're gone. So I was in Alaska a couple of years ago at West Lagoon in Anchorage, and sitting about 8 feet away from me in the tree was a kingfisher who posed for about 20 minutes. So I had to travel 5,000 miles to get a kingfisher picture.
But you got it now.
I got it. Yeah, I got it.
Cool.
I've been to a private game reserve in South Africa called Madikwe. It's up by the Botswana border. And the lodge that I stay at has an artificial pond, a very small artificial pond. It's maybe 3 feet across, concrete bottom. They've left all the brush and the trees around. And when I go on these photographic safaris. You go out in the morning at 6 o'clock and you come back for lunch. You go back out at 3 o'clock. So you've got a 3 hour window in the middle of the afternoon, and most everybody takes naps because we have to get up at 5. I dragged my chair out to the little pond and just sat there. And I think that in 6 or 7 days, you get 30 species of birds there. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. This is one of my absolute favorites. These lilac-breasted rollers are actually pretty common I've been to Kenya and South Africa, and they're pretty common. But the first time you see one of these birds, it's just like, oh my gosh. They are so beautiful, and they're usually pretty cooperative about sitting. They sit up. They like height. They're often at the very top of a tree. They like branches that don't have a lot of leaves on them, and they're very wary, but they're just stunningly beautiful birds. Just so elegant. And it's nice because they're fairly common. So they're fairly easy to find and fairly easy to shoot. The biggest problem I've ever had on these trips that I've taken is we're mainly after big game to photograph. So you've got to kind of get lucky with the birds, because a lot of times the drivers are not going to stop for birds.
Right.
And most of the people that I've been with, it's usually a small group with 5 or 6, but they're not birdie as much as I am. So you pass, but it's very painful to pass by a lot of these birds. But this is one that just about gets everybody's attention, is the roller. And then you could show the patella. And this is another one that's just strikingly beautiful. It's a green wing patella. Luckily, came in 3 or 4 of them would come in every day to the little water feature and just hang around. And I just sat there on the ground with my camera and just took lots and lots and lots of pictures. South Africa it's a great place to go birding, even though I wasn't on a bird trip. I got to see a lot of really terrific birds. Plus, the main attraction for Madikwe, the reserve that I was visiting, was wild dogs. And we got one trip yes, one trip no. But we got wild dogs on the morning of the last day we were there. So it's a fabulous place to go.
That's
and
awesome.
The bird life, just to go on a birding trip there would be amazing, because you would have an unbelievable time seeing amazing things.
Yeah, South Africa. And I haven't been to that spot, but
where were you?
There, Kruger.
At Kruger. Yeah, this is not too far from Kruger.
Yeah, it's not. But yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you're overcome by the giraffes and the wild dogs, of course, the elephants and all that, but the bird life is fantastic. So do you know why it's called a roller? Did you get to see it in action?
Yeah, but I never saw it do anything. Yeah, it didn't really do anything particularly unusual. They'll occasionally fly like a woodpecker and do that whoop, the up and down thing. But I never saw them.
They're supposed to like kind of dip around and
yeah. They
I
usually,
never saw
if
that
they
either.
took off, they kind of like just took off like a regular bird. And like I said, they'd occasionally do the up and down thing like a woodpecker does, but nothing spectacular.
And I haven't seen it roll either.
And even though this is a field guide shot, what I call a field guide shot, they're just such a beautiful bird. It
really is.
And Cheryl, before you jump off, would you mind letting everybody know what camera you were using?
Yeah, I've got a Panasonic DG9, and I've got the Vario 100 to 400 lens that's got like a glass in it. So it's a really good, it's a terrific camera and a terrific lens. And it's a small one. It's not one of the monster Mamma Jamma telephotos, because I just can't handle those. They're just too much trouble. And the 4/3 it's a terrific format. It does a really good job.
Awesome. Sweet. Thanks for sharing, Cheryl.
Thanks.
I love some Africa. Let's stay in Africa.
Well, Luke, real quick.
Yeah.
Before we get too far down the road,
okay.
Bill Richards chimed in with we were talking about Doris's elf owl that was basically on our windowsill. So we were asking about other up close and personal experiences. And Bill actually raised a loggerhead shrike that adopted him. He ended up with his own room and a mesquite branch on his desk. He would jump back and forth, excited about being fed. Basically the story goes on with him living outside until, funny enough, a pair of verdants chased him off. So Bill was able to raise a loggerhead shrike in his house, lived on a mesquite branch in the house, and then was chased off by a couple of verdins. So that was Bill's up close and personal
Well,
encounter.
I'm wondering what Bill fed that loggerhead shrike.
A lot of
Not
lizards.
Verdon. Not
Yeah, not
Verdon.
very.
That's awesome. I love it. I love to hear that. Up close and personal stories. All right. Chuck, are you with us? Let's see. Now, Chuck was in Uganda recently. We actually have a Uganda trip planned for Tucson Audubon with Naturalist Journeys, working with Vernie here. Um, he shared some pictures from there. Well, Chuck's not with us, so we'll scroll through them here a little bit. But yeah, got an amazing shoe bill from Uganda and some ostriches. If you're interested and you're joining us for that trip, be sure to reach out to me or Danito or Vernie here. Um, Ostriches are amazing. And then I'm pretty sure a northern double colored sunbird, but no Chuck, so no story. All right. But it's good to see those pictures. All right, John, let's move back to Southeast Arizona. How about that? John, you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You're good.
Yeah, I sorry about the mic problem initially. I found that I needed to reboot and update all the software, and then it's working.
Yeah, we're all good now. Perfect
Yes,
timing.
correct. And this is the bear line that I shot up at Santa Rita Lodge. I've been trying to get the
Yeah.
bear line for a long time, a decent image. It they're not they're rather I guess you might say rare up there, and
Mm-hmm.
the
For
resident
sure.
one seems to always go to the feeder that's way to the right where it's very shaded. So unless you do a high ISO, it's hard to get a shot. But he happened to go to the center one, and I was able to get him as he backed off from the feeder, which is the way I like to get him, photograph him.
It almost looks so. I know it has a right wing, and the the right wing is like right behind its body, and
Yeah,
you
the left wing is
or left
um,
wing, yeah, left wing,
hidden.
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, he still had a wing, but it's
yeah.
blocked either by his body or the other wing.
It's all you're right. It does hang out on that right side all the time, like over the far right. I don't know. Maybe it's closer to the brush over there. There's like that. I can't remember
Yeah,
what
it
type
is
of bush
close to
it
the
is.
brush where he likes to hide, and it's an elusive bird, and
Yeah,
I'm just glad I was able to get an action shot with some decent lighting. And this is the Violent Crown. I got that up at Beatty Ranch in
yep.
Miller Canyon back last September. The first time I'd been up there. It's a rocky road to get up there.
It is a little bit, and then you get to sit on. Were you sitting on the bleachers when you took this picture?
I was, yes.
Yeah.
Plus wandering around. But it's a kind of rather rustic place, but it's a fun place. I really enjoy it. I got an image of him back in oh some months before at Patton, but it's kind of a little obscured by some branches and stuff. So here I have him in the clear, and so I think this is a younger one because he's a little smaller, but it worked. So that was fun.
Yeah, and great plumage on this guy too. With that, you can really see that purplish blue. It almost looked blue in
Yeah.
this lighting. It's
And
amazing.
then that's the thing I love to do is photograph the hummingbirds. That's my
Yeah.
favorite thing.
Are you local? Or you live around
No,
here, or are you
I'm in
visiting?
Quail Creek in Green Valley.
Quill Creek. All right, yeah. So you
Fortunately,
live in the perfect spot for that.
Madera
Perfect.
Canyon's only 20 miles away, so that's perfect.
But
This one,
this wasn't 20 miles away. This wasn't 20 miles.
times about 100. More
So
than that.
this, yeah, where were you at for this guy? And
This
yeah,
was at Bird Paradise, a bird reserve in Singapore. And
Singapore.
yeah. And we were visiting, we had a trip to Vietnam, Cambodia, and then wound up to visit our family, which was in Singapore. I have a Indonesian daughter whose boyfriend lives in Singapore, and he's a photographer. And so he said, I got to take you to Bird Paradise. So we went there, and I think I shot 1,000 images that way. I've got lot more images that I've taken. But it was an exciting place with all these birds and natural habitat. And this one, is I was kind of taken with this bird and what he does, and he's kind of he's a basically a um, is active at night.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, but Singapore, the bird paradise was an amazing place. I have a Indonesian granddaughter who also does a lot of photography. She'll be coming down here right after Christmas. She's at Michigan State right now, but before she started college, she went on a birding expedition to Sulawesi and Sumatra and some
Whoa.
of the islands. She was away about 3 weeks shooting images of all the tropical birds there. So I don't think I'll ever get there at age 80, but um, I was happy to be able to experience this. It was fun and
Yeah.
it's exciting.
It's good. It is fun to live through other people's experiences. Like, I think that's part of being part of a community. You get to, we don't get to go to all these places, but there's something valuable about hearing someone else's. And
Yeah, we can do it
that's cool.
vicariously, and
Yes,
I love
sir.
traveling around at age 80. I don't know how much more world traveling I'm going to do, but as much as I can is better than sitting in front of the TV. So I love
Yes.
photography. I love birding, and the festival in August was amazing. So
I'm glad to hear it. Thanks, John.
this was taken with
Appreciate
a
that.
this was taken with a Fuji X-T5 and the 70 to 300.
Awesome. Thanks again.
And
All
then,
Oh,
right.
love
So
real, well,
oh,
just
go
before you
ahead.
jump on real quick, Bill
Yeah.
updated us on what he fed his strike. So he said he did some research and he actually fed his loggerhead strike beef heart. He would get him large grasshoppers ever so often. And here's where I'm about to die with envy. But the strike would stab all of his food onto the mesquite thorns inside of the house. So, yeah, beef heart, grasshoppers, and he got to see that stabbing thing. So we're all extremely jealous of you, Bill.
Oh, that's crazy. That's pretty awesome, dude. All right. So let's move from a amazing Nanking night heron to another wading bird that's a bit more local. Nathaniel, you want to share about your experience with this amazing great blue heron picture here? Nathaniel, I'm glad you're with us. I met you a few months ago. I believe at the Patent Center. Is that I think
Hmm.
pretty sure that's right. Awesome,
Yeah.
dude.
So
Share with
this
us about
photo,
this guy.
yeah, so this photo was taken in New Mexico, actually, at Bosque del Apache. So, our Santo crane place is whitewater draw, obviously, but over in New Mexico, it's Bosque del Apache, and they get similar amounts of Santo cranes. So I was a little too early for the cranes, unfortunately, but I did get this guy. I was like following him along a road by the water, and then he flew, and so I was able to get a lot of good action shots. And so with Bosque, their Festival of the Cranes is coming up, which sometime I do want to get on because that sounds pretty exciting in December. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really colder. It's even colder there than it is now. So if you do go, be prepared for cold temperatures, but also along with those cranes, like tons of snow geese too.
Yeah, I had a cool
It's
experience with snow geese when we were there. They were the snow geese were a lot earlier than the Santo cranes this year, and there's like a road circling the lake or whatever. Had they like maybe 300 or so were just in the middle of the road, and so cars couldn't get by. But it was pretty cool to photograph those as well.
That's awesome, man. I love this
Hmm.
picture. I can see like all the primaries and secondaries here
Yeah.
on the Great
Hmm.
Blue. And then you got this picture here at the Patent Center. You
Hmm.
what? So yeah, I think this is a fun picture because it helps you can't really see the face very well, or a lot of times when we're identifying sparrows, we look at the breast. What was your impression of this sparrow? What were you thinking when you got this picture?
Yeah, I basically don't have an idea what sparrow is because I don't have the face. So like I had pictures of
Yeah.
its face and then I lost the all the data that was on it. So now I'm left with this. Um, it's so like yeah, I was wondering if anyone else knew what sparrow that would be.
Yeah, so let's work let's work through it. Let's have Danito work through it. Danito, you want to work through it? I don't know, pick on you, man. So like tell us about how would you describe the body structure of this guy? This guy.
Somewhat compact with a little bit of a long tail. Um, I'd look at the contrast of the high contrast of the streaks on the face. Little bit of kind of a buffy color, not a real rich brown, a little bit of an orangey brown. Um, so my amateur opinion and guess, I would call this a song sparrow.
Mhm.
What do we think, Luke?
Well, yeah, it's big bodied, like really heavy, kind of heavier set. Um, I always like to think through like what the common sparrows would be, like kind of work through like what would be expected at the location first. So, did you see any other sparrows while you were there, Nathaniel?
No, I didn't. It was kind of weird because it was by itself, not in a group.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, that can be a good indicator too. White-crowned
Absolutely.
sparrows. A lot of times, they'll be there. There's usually a lot of white-crowned sparrows together. Um, and then you can kind of like you can see a bit of the breast. So like, is there any streaking? Is it clean? And so like some of the sparrows you would expect, you can always go to eBird and look to see like, what is kind of common. Not that it is going to be a common bird, but that's always where I start. So like when I see swallows flying by in the winter, like the first thing I think of is northern roughwing, and then I kind of work out from there. Why isn't it a northern roughwing?
mhm,
It's like white crown, song sparrow, Lincoln sparrow, and then the towhees. Those would be kind of the ones that like start to, like process of elimination a little bit. So you can eliminate white crown sparrow because, a different crown structure. Uh, and you can see a little bit of streaking. So you can eliminate white crown. And then Lincoln sparrow is kind of like its body structure is like smaller, mousier, just kind of just different body structure than this guy. And so then you can kind of land on song sparrow because it's a heavy body structure. There's some of the same reasons that Danito was calling out. So
mhm.
that's kind of how I start working through different IDs like this. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna call it a song sparrow,
Yeah,
but
I'd agree with you guys as
yeah,
well. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and to piggyback off of what Luke said, I lead a lot of field trips, and one of the things I hear about sometimes what people will say is they say, well, I don't know all the birds. And, we've got great news for you. You don't need to know all the birds. You need to know the birds that are going to be where you are. So the habitat's going to, eliminate a lot of birds. The time of year is going to eliminate a lot of birds. And again, that does take practice of being out and birding quite a bit. But that's one of the things I tell people, don't let your head swim thinking you have to be entertaining every single bird in the world. The more you get out there and bird, the more you'll become familiar with your local birds. The longer you bird, you'll get more familiar with those birds during certain seasons. And that'll help. Your brain will start doing a lot of that background work without you even knowing it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome, Nathaniel. Thanks for sharing, man, and hope
Yeah.
to see you around again.
Mhm.
All right, let's do a couple more sparrows here. Debbie, tell us about your sagebrush sparrow. That's not a common one.
All right, so I was at Catalina State Park, and it's only my second time going there. I've only been here in Tucson like just over a year. So I just was only able to catch this one photo, but and I wasn't sure what it was. And
Yeah.
only thing I could think of was maybe Vesper because I saw the eye ring, and I couldn't really see a very good on my camera. So I waited till I got home and pulled it up on my computer, and then I was trying to I tried using like Merlin ID to help me, and it suggested sagebrush sparrow. So I went to my National Geographic and I'm looking at it, and it describes it as long tail, some let's see what it says. It says here the distinct eye ring. So I'm like, okay, it's got a long tail, distinct eye ring. It has the white super laurel stripe, but kind of faintish, just like described in the guide. Dark central breast spot, which you can't really see if it has that here. There's some twig in the way, and
it's not a good shot of the breast, but then it said dusky streaking on the sides and then also distinct blackish streaking on the back and white fringing to the tail. Not really sure if that's visible. So I'm thinking, okay, sage sparrow, but that comes up on eBird as rare for that
Yeah. Yep.
location. So I sent it to my friend. I almost sent it to you, Luke, but I thought you'd think like, who is this person sending me a photo of a bird? So
Debbie, you can always send any of you can always send pictures. We like that. Yeah.
so I sent it to my friend Sharon Goldwasser, and
Oh yeah.
came back saying, "Yeah, I think you've got a sagebrush sparrow." So I put it on eBird, and then I got this really nice email from Andrew Core saying, "Thank you for your for posting it with documentation." And I believe it's the first record of that at Catalina State Park. So I was
That's awesome,
pretty
Debbie.
excited about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you killed it. You
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
It's
So
always
maybe
nice to get that kind of email from an eBird reviewer rather than
exactly. Exactly. Because sometimes they're not so nice.
Andrew's the best at that. He really is.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for sharing it. Way to go in identifying it because, like as we just talked about, you kind of start with the common ones, but sometimes it's not.
Right.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's not. Awesome. Thanks again. Royce, here's this is always a tough one, a tough sparrow for us to work through. You want to share with us about your brewer's sparrow at your house?
So I put in a new picture window and spend way too much time just looking at the birds in my yard now. And I just saw a group of finches and looks like there's a dove in the fountain as well. And it's like, well, that one looks like it's a really long sparrow. Um,
Yep.
and it's like, oh wait, and the face looks a little bit different. I even looked up what a female sparrow or a female house finch would look like, and it's like, no, those markings are different. And it stopped by. It was in August to get a drink of water, and I never saw it again. So just right place, right time.
Yep. Yeah, I think that the way that you described it, Royce, is like really like you start with why isn't it like those common birds that I always see and like what, you know, body shapes are different or, what small things are different and moving from those common ones to something else. Like I think that's a great pattern to use. And yeah, the brewers can be difficult because they are so plain, but that really small, slender, long look of it is helpful. So that's great. And then you had, we already, Scott shared some pictures of Cooper's hawks. You had one in your yard too.
So, do you think that's a Cooper's or a sharp shin?
That's an age-old question. Well, yeah, there's a few other sifter species pictures that we got coming, but the really big head, the really big head is what stands out to
Okay.
me. Yeah, so like a
Okay.
sharp shin, it'd be like a little knuckle sticking up out of the head or out of the body, like the head almost looks like a little knuckle, and and this is an immature, so you don't really have the cap or anything like that, or the back of the nape to go off of. So just going
And that's
off of
why
the
the
shape of the
chest is
head.
more stippled than banded because it's an immature.
Yeah, so the immature has like the streaks on the chest and
Mm-hmm.
the kind of streaky head. So like the adult Coopers will have like a dark cap. So like if we went all the way back to those pictures that Scott shared at the beginning, that has a really dark cap, almost like a beret kind of. And then a sharp shin would have dark up here, but then it would go all the way back the back of the neck. But with it being immature, we just kind of rely on shape mostly. So that's cool. Like again, having those birds like right in your house is something else, huh?
Yeah, it's great in the morning when it flies through and it scares 100 doves out of the yard. They
Get
can
those
fly
doves out of the
really
yard.
fast when they're escaping a hawk.
Yep, yep. Awesome. Thank you. All right, let's go exotic again.
Whoa.
Chris or Elliot, are you on? I saw
Yeah, I'm
Elliot.
on.
All right.
Hi,
Hey,
Luke. Good
yeah,
to
you
see
had
you.
some Brazil birds.
We were, and Chris is right behind me
I'm
Oh,
right
I
here.
see
here.
her. Yep, I see you.
Um, we went to Brazil, to the southeastern part of Brazil, right near Rio de Janeiro. It's the Atlantic forest biome, which is very different from the Amazon, an imperiled habitat. And it has, the reason we went there has been on my bucket list for probably 30 years. We went there because the Atlantic forest has many, many endemics, birds that aren't found anywhere else. And this is one of them. This is a bare-throated bellbird, and it supposedly has one of the loudest voices of any animal on the planet.
I
Uh,
put a recording on here. Do we want to listen to it?
do I have to hold my ears?
No, it's not real super loud, but here I'll play it. Oh, shoot. That's not. Uh,
Yeah.
so did you guys hear this while you were there?
Oh yeah, all the time. The bird is hard to locate. It's kind of a ventriloquistic quality. And you hear that, and you think the bird might be in a nearby treetop, and it turns out it's on a mountainside a half a mile away. So, I mean, it's really, really carries. And of course, the bird being white, and when it's calling, it tends to sit high up in the open. So eventually you scan around on the mountainside with binoculars or a scope, you see where it is.
It's
Um,
a lot easier to identify than the Cooper sock that we just talked about. It stands
Yeah.
up like a. That's why I
yeah,
put them back to back. I want, the hard and the easy.
yeah,
But the
nothing else
easy,
looks like it.
but the easy still has its hard. Like you said, you gotta search for it.
Yeah.
What about this
Well,
guy? Cotingas are especially hard to find, right?
actually, the bellbird is in the Cotinga family too, so it's a big
Oh, that's
family. But
right.
a lot of the Cotingas, though, are forest birds that are kind of hard to locate, and they're in dense foliage in the canopy and so on. I might say parenthetically that birding in this region of the Brazil Atlantic forest, you spend a lot of time looking at black silhouettes against a white sky. You're looking up
Mm,
into a treetop that's high, high above, and you don't see any color on the bird. So it's very challenging. But one of the most wanted birds I had was this swallowtail cotinga because I saw its pictures in the books, and I said, oh boy, I'd love to see one of those. And we landed in Rio. We were picked up at the airport, drove 3 miles to I'm sorry, 3 hours. It should only be 3 miles, 3 hours into the mountains to our lodge. And I got out of the van, and the first bird I saw was a swallowtail cotinga, which happened
no.
to have a nest right on the grounds of the lodge. And we actually
Mm,
got to see this bird feeding young and so on. So, uh, really a fantastic start to the trip.
that's awesome, Elliot.
That's an awesome bird. And then these are three-toed jacamars. The, the night before we saw these, we had about 3 inches of rain. And apparently, jacamars nest in exposed mud banks on roadsides. They dig a hole just like a kingfisher into the bank. And apparently, these guys had built a nest, and the heavy rain caused a mudslide, and their whole bank had collapsed. And
Oh
so when we
no.
got there and found them, they were trying to redig their hole. I don't know whether they had eggs in there before or not, but
Wow.
yeah, kind of
Wow.
a very, very weird bird. Great long bill, and um, another one of these endemic birds we were just happy to find.
Do they really have three toes? Did you see?
I couldn't tell, but yeah, I think it's two in front and one in the back.
Yeah, right.
We take
That's
that on
awesome.
faith.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, yeah, it's good to have faith. Hey, Elliot, Chris, thanks so much for sharing those. Yeah, we love living vicariously. We already shared that a little bit, but Yeah, we made
Well,
it.
if you can tolerate a 10-hour plane ride from Dallas to Rio, you can go, and it's great once you get there.
All right, let's plan it. All right. Oh, hey, yeah, this is a sad one. Maria, you want to share a little bit about what happened here with your hummingbird? I think I saw you on here. Did I? She might have left. I don't see Maria right now. All right. So yeah, Maria had a hummingbird hit her window, and looks like it's maybe a costless hummingbird. And she was really sad about it, but wanted to share just like, yeah, what we can do to help prevent that. A little sadness there. That's right. What always makes me happy is thinking about Sweetwater wetlands. That's one thing. Hey, Karen, you want to share about your green heron experience here?
Yes, good morning, everybody. I was wandering over Sweetwaters a few months ago now, but and this they were lowering the water level. So instead of the usual views of green herons hiding in the reeds or standing around, this particular bird was hunting. And so I was completely focused on the heron. And I thought, oh, this is fine. At least it's a green heron out in the open doing what it ought to be doing, and it'll be a nice shot. So I took a bunch of pictures of it. Then I came back home, and among other things, and I'm going through the photographs. And only then did I realize I wasn't the only person watching the heron. As you can see up in the corner.
Got a bullfrog photobombing the heron back here, like giving the side eye.
The bullfrog and I were both watching the heron, but I didn't even see the bullfrog. I was completely focused on framing the image of the heron stalking through the water. So,
Well, you know what it was looking. It might have been looking for more bullfrogs. It should have just turned
probably,
around.
absolutely, absolutely. So it just made me giggle. And then I live out in the Ironwood Forest National Monument on a bunch of acreage, natural acreage inside the monument. It's just ironwood, palo verde forest, mesquite trees, a few mesquites, a lot of creosote. At any rate, that's the habitat. I have 15 acres. So I keep a list, like most of us do, of what's in my quote backyard. Um, Whether I get good pictures or bad pictures of it, if it's something new to my backyard, I try to at least get some pictures. So as far as I mean, as far as I've ever seen, this was a sapsucker is basically right outside my office window on an old lamppost piece of wood that I have standing there specifically to encourage the flickers and woodpeckers to land on something. So this was the first, to my knowledge, probably young, immature, yellow-bellied sapsucker to arrive. And this was on October 30th, I think. So just less than a month ago. So that I thought, well, it's an interesting picture for me because, again, this is not a common bird in my backyard.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. And I think it looks good for yellow-bellied sapsucker. Some of them can be kind of difficult, but like the pattern on the back looks right, kind of messy on the back. There's
He's
no
just
red on the back of the
messy.
nape. Yeah, I think it looks good.
Yeah, it's definitely immature, and I don't know why I decided it was an immature male, but it just struck me that way, I guess. I have other pictures of him, but none of them are any, showing the full back, and it's as messy looking as it looks from the side. There's just,
Yeah.
he's not got any crisp details anywhere at this point. But
That's awesome. So this is right in your backyard.
this
That's
is,
awesome.
it's
Wow.
probably 10 feet from where I'm sitting right now. To answer the question, my 80-year-old wrists, arms, and muscles have given up hauling around my Nikon with a 500, particularly if I'm sitting in my chair. So many of my pictures are being taken by a bridge camera, the Sony CyberShot AX400, the first of the Sony CyberShots. I also now shoot a Nikon 900 bridge, which is a slightly newer bridge camera. But and of the two, I still prefer the CyberShot, even though it's an older version. Better balance, lighter weight.
Yeah. Lighter weight helps.
Yeah,
Awesome. Thanks, Karen.
thank you.
All right. Hey, let's check out another woodpecker. Catherine, are you with us?
I am.
Awesome.
As I said, Luke, I'm getting over laryngitis.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I am.
Well, we should save your voice for the next picture then. This is like your welcome home bird, right?
Yes, this bird is all around my backyard. Yeah.
Beautiful gilded flicker. But you saw it after coming home from the Louvre. Did I say that right? The
Yeah.
Louvre?
This is Paris, and I'm walking across the Seine, and I kept taking pictures as I continued to walk. So I blew this way up, and this guy was sitting on the head of one of the four statues that is there in Paris. And I have a cell phone, iPhone I'm taking pictures with. Last time I went to Paris, my husband took me. I had a big old camera and we had a great time. And this was kind of a let go trip. I went by myself, hardly saw any birds except the two I sent you. Well, I saw pigeons and dove, but this guy was up there and I was taking photos and people are like, what is she taking a photo of? So I drew a picture for myself.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean, the Louvre, like such a iconic museum place. And yeah, to take pictures of birds there, like people don't understand. But so here's a kind of a funny thing. So I was trying to figure out like hopefully y'all can see the big carry-on crow up on top of the horse there. I was trying to figure out, all right, what kind of crows do they have there in the Paris region? I'm not real familiar with European birds, a little bit. And so what I did is I went to eBird. And here, I'll show you guys how I did this. I went to eBird and I went to explore hotspots because I was like, oh, I want to try identify this with Catherine. And so I went to explore hotspots and then I zoomed in on France and found Paris. Paris is up here. I found Paris and I zoomed in and I was like, oh, I should be able to find that. At least I could find the area where the Louvre is. And sure enough, here it is. And there was a hot spot for the Louvre. Did you know that? There's actually an eBird hotspot right here, the Louvre Museum right here. So I clicked on it to see like what kind of birds people have been seeing here. And then I went to bird list. No one's reported any there in the last month. And I was like, well, it's not a wagtail, it's not a mute swan, and I kind of, not a magpie. And I kind of go, oh, carry-on crow. Someone had 6 there in September. So I clicked on carry-on crow, and sure enough, that's got to be what it is. Carry-on crow.
Thank you, Luke. I didn't know how to do any of this. And
I know, is it like I had no idea that there would be a hotspot there. I thought I'd find something nearby. Is that something?
it's it makes me weepy and wonderfully so.
Well, I'm thankful that we can all kind of experience that with you, Catherine. That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, a few more pictures here before we wrap up. We'll see if we can, I think we have about 6 more. Nancy,
Hey,
not the Louvre,
no, not
but
even close.
it's like the Louvre of national parks.
Yeah, it is. So I was actually up in Jackson Hole in July for an art show I was in. So this was after the art show. I decided I had seen trumpeter swans in the wild, but I'd never gotten close enough to get a decent photo. So that was my photo nemesis bird up until this summer. And every time I looked on eBird, I just couldn't find the swans that were listed on eBird until I got up north of Norris Geyser Basin. And there was just a little pond kind of off in the trees, and I spotted 2 white dots way out there. So I snuck down and actually got close to the edge of the pond and just hid in the bushes so the swans wouldn't see me, and just waited to see what would happen. And they eventually came over and just swam to maybe 30 feet in front of me. Yeah, I have probably like 2,000 or 3,000 photos of these guys. I figured if it was the only time I'm ever going to get photos of swans in my life this good, I'm going to take as many as I can. But they were right within, just maybe 20, 30 feet of where I was, just foraging in those lily pads. I can't remember the name of those water lilies. It's not a true water lily. It's something weird, but I just can't remember the name of them off the top of my head. But yeah, the lighting was really great. It was early morning, so it was that beautiful, soft, kind of pinkish lighting. But the weird thing is I never saw another swan the whole time I was up there. There were supposed to be, swans with babies all over the place. These guys didn't have any babies this year.
Huh. Yeah.
May have been a new pair, or maybe they lost their babies partway through the summer. I'm not sure, but yeah, at least I was, I got my swan photos for this summer, and hopefully I'll be able to go up there again next summer and spot them with some babies.
That'd be awesome. I love the little drip coming off of the bill right there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Nancy. I love that part of the country, and anytime you get up there is amazing.
Yep.
Thanks again. Pam, I know you've been waiting patiently, and we'd love to hear about your spectacled eider, different type of waterfowl. I think I saw Pam on here. Oh, maybe not.
Oh, now you should be able to hear me.
Oh, yeah, got you, Pam.
Okay. Yeah,
Got you.
This is a male spectacled eider in breeding plumage, and it was taken up in a pond in Prudhoe Bay, Alaska.
Oh,
in June of 2011 when I was on an Alaska trip, and he was so stunning that I took several pictures of him. The interesting thing about them is their range is extremely limited. They breed in small tundra pools just along a couple of coastal areas of Alaska, and they spend the winters out in the ocean, out by the Bering Sea. So we were lucky to see them.
Yeah, that's that's a gorgeous duck. It is, yeah. That's amazing.
Oh, and these guys.
Yeah, so you go from Prudhoe Bay, and then like talk about opposites.
This is this is a group of Oakham. They call them Oakham boys. I call them Oakham boys and girls. They are yearling king penguins.
Okay, good. They are king penguins. Yeah, I had to do some. I had to check on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and this was taken on South Georgia, the island down there in the Antarctic. And these guys are a riot. When the whalers first saw them, they thought there was a different species of penguin because they didn't look at all like the adults.
No.
And they named them the Oakham boys because the color resembled the oakum, which was used, it was tarred fibers of wood, like tarred fibers that they used to make the caulking on their wooden ships to hold, in between the wood on the ships for the whalers' ships. And that's why they called them Oakham boys. Oakham, Oakum boys.
I saw you. That's how the picture was labeled, and I didn't have time to research to see where that came from, but that's really interesting.
Yeah. Unlike the smaller penguins, like the chinstrap, the rockhoppers, the gentoos, all of those are able to fledge their young within one Antarctic season, but these guys are too big. And they have to overwinter by themselves because the adults leave. And these guys are in creches where they all gather together and they have to overwinter by themselves. And then the next season, this next summer season in the Antarctic, they start to molt They look really funny then, and they get their adult plumage before they can go out in the water and go fishing.
That's amazing. So were you colder up in Prudhoe Bay or South Georgia Island? What?
Oh, we were in South Georgia, and this I think was taken in January of 14. You know, that's the Antarctic summer. Yeah, but it was colder there than it was up in Prudhoe Bay.
Okay.
That was in June. You know, that was our summer. Yeah.
And then closer to home.
Yeah, this
like
guy,
we had some Cooper
Wow,
socks.
that's so great.
Yeah,
I was trying to I was kind of trying to fill this one out.
I'm not sure if it's a Cooper's or a Sharpshin. He got caught in a monsoon rain, and he was standing on my feeder pole, my backyard, and he's sort of like trying to dry out like a cormorant. I thought it was a funny shot. I'm not sure. He's obviously a juvenile. And what do you think? Cooper's
The head looked a little small. It might be Sharpshin. Kind of hard to tell the way it's all puffed out like that.
Yeah.
Has some Sharpshin stuff to it, but hard to tell.
It is hard to tell. I wasn't sure either.
But it's a beautiful picture. Thanks for sharing, Pam.
Okay.
Paula, are you on with us? I see your name.
I'm mute. Yeah, I can only talk.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Share with us a little bit about your another Cooper sock here.
Well, I was in a car on the way out of my Gladden Farm neighborhood, and this Texas Ranger bush was on the way to normally the path I walk. Well, I saw this bird or hawk land on someone's car, and then he dove into this Texas Ranger plant, and he has feathers in his mouth, and the smaller birds were crying. You could just hear them making an awful noise. So he caught something in this, and you can see the back of someone's car. Well, that's the car he landed on. And then he just dove in. And I was in my car going out of the neighborhood. So this is a Pixel 9 phone that took these pictures. And this phone, when I zoom in, is much better than any other phone that I ever had, because I wouldn't have gotten the detail of these feathers at all. It would have just been a blur. But it scared me because that's the path I usually go down. And I didn't see any neighbor out of their house, but I thought, oh my gosh, I've never seen them do this. I've seen them in my yard tear apart a bird.
Yeah.
But never this.
Well,
never this.
I think what you know, a lot of our pictures that were sent, like there's so many Cooper's hawks, Sharpshin hawk type, you know, these accipiters that are almost in our daily lives. Like we have these all around, and it's pretty cool that so many of us have these interactions with Coopers and Sharpshin hawks. I love to see it. So we yeah, I don't take that for granted. Mindy, we have a couple pictures here. We'll need a wrap up here soon, but I definitely want to get to you, and you got some amazing, colorful birds here.
Well, this, you know, I went looking for this bird because I heard that it was sighted again at Sweetwater. And we're just wandering around the area, and there it was, and it was not holding still. So it was like,
no,
lucky to get this shot, because it was just bouncing around this tree and pecking and moving from one spot to another. And it was just an unusual bird for this area, because I was reading up about it a little bit, and it seems like it's more likely to be found in the eastern part of the country. So,
yep.
But this was, I think, the second time that there have been sightings of this northern parula in the Tucson area. One time, I went with Pam, and we because we'd heard there was a northern parula sighting down by the Santa Cruz River someplace, remember?
Yep.
and it was much harder to get a picture then, but that was years ago, and so I don't know if it's continuing there at Sweetwater or not. This was just last winter.
Yeah, yeah. So Northern Parula is one that every once, if we'll have them winter over at Sweetwater every once in a while, or other locations in Southeast Arizona. They're rare, but sometimes we'll have one stick around. And I think yeah, I don't know if there's one being seen there right now, but there was one seen a couple weeks ago in Agua Nueva. But yeah, they act a lot like ruby crown kinglets. They're small. Yeah, they can be super hard to get a hold of, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that that band under the neck, I think I think that means it's a male.
Yeah, I have to remind myself. I know there's a difference between the male and female plumage. Uh, a female will have a lighter colored band there, so that might be a female. A female has a little bit of a band, but not as much as the male.
Oh.
It's a beautiful bird. This Townsend's warbler picture you got, holy cow, I've never seen one that bright before.
Yeah, that one is amazing. That was at Madera Canyon, in now I can't remember, several years ago, and it was that wire that it's standing on is about like maybe like a couple of feet from one of the feeders at that Santa Rita Lodge.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just happened to like get
It's a beauty.
shot. And it was just like, oh wow, you could see all that facial and beautiful plumage, really.
Incredible. And then the verdin, are these in your backyard?
No, not in my backyard, but in our, like, not far from the house, there's like an area with a lot of it's a common area in the neighborhood, and there's usually very pretty birdie there. And this is a verdant with a chick that's looking to be fed.
Yes, he is.
And I think it's a mesquite tree that they're in. There's
beautiful.
Yeah, it was kind of a little bit exciting. Again, these birds don't sit still for 2 seconds, so I felt kind of lucky to get this. And
the behavior shot, I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Mindy.
I got a lot of yellow birds for this session here.
Yeah, and the yellow, I was surprised that I don't know if you must have brightened up the photo or something, because the yellow on that verdin, and the contrast between the face and the body, like I've never seen that much contrast before. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think I vibranted.
I like the vibranted it. Yeah, we should do that more. All right, I didn't see Jim with us, so we're gonna move. This is gonna be our last one. So I know we went over a little bit, but it's worth it. It's worth it. We're gonna do this again. We're gonna do this again because I love this. This is a lot. I hope you guys have had fun with this too. But Peggy, I want you to take us home with this bad boy here.
Well, if you ever get a chance to go with Tucson Audubon on one of their international trips, they are just fabulous. All the different companies they go with are incredible, and you become like family after 2 weeks. And we just went to Panama, and one of the birds I really, really wanted to see was the harpy eagle. And we were blessed not only to see the harpy eagle, but with a chick that was a little over a month old. According to many people who I know have gone and seen harpy eagles, it's a trek to get there. We actually had an easier trek than many people, although at the end of the trek, people called it soul sucking, and because the humidity was so incredible, but we got to see these birds, so it was worth it. The family that found it, the mom actually found the nest, and the family built a lovely canopy for us to be able to look, with benches for us to sit after we took a canoe, a dugout canoe trip first, and then we hiked, and it was very, very muddy. So muddy that one time the guide was trying to help me and say, I've got you, I've got you. And Rob Ripma, the owner of Saber Wings, was like, no, her back foot is wedged into the mud, and he had to put his foot under my foot to get my back foot out of the mud. But they provided us the wellies at Canopy Camp for us to go on this. They said 2 kilometer. My thing, kind of like an undulating walk for our trip from Ecuador, was about 2 miles in this mud. But when we got up there and got to see the harpy eagle with the chick, it was all worth it. So Tucson Audubon just does an amazing job with their international trips.
Undulating.
Yep.
Up and down. So the harpy eagle, what does it eat? Like, give us an idea of how big it is.
It eats other mammals. And so one of the things this is the mom, and she flew off at one point, and we waited for as long as Rob would let us wait because the heat and humidity was so bad. He said we had to go. But they will bring like monkeys to the nest.
Big monkeys, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So big mammals, and then they'll shred it up into little parts for the chick.
Amazing. I'm so glad you had that experience, Peggy.
It was wonderful.
And that we get to live through it a little bit with you. And that's the beauty of all this, guys. Thank you so much for sending in pictures, and we'll definitely do this again. I didn't even get to share a picture with you guys, but maybe next time. And hope you all enjoyed it, and thanks for sharing your stories. Keep on sharing it. I think that's how part of how we inspire people to protect and enjoy birds is, not that we're going to have them sit through a 5 hour, slideshow. I remember doing that with my grandparents when I was a kid and getting bored a little bit, but the first hour or so is awesome. So share those pictures with folks, share your stories, and thanks again for being a part of it. Any last words before we wrap up? Danito, you want to wrap us up there? Oh, yeah, Karen, go for it.
First, thank you. But I want to share something new that this brought us today. While I was sitting enjoying all the birds, looking out my window, I have my first time yard bird, blue-gray gnatcatcher, appeared. Well, I've been sitting, talking, and watching all your photos.
Oh,
so just
that's
sitting watching at my computer, you guys got me a new bird for my yard today.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah, just not a lot to add other than just like you said, Luke, thanks a lot. This was a lot of fun. First one we've done like this in a while, and I like them a lot too. I find like these interactive ones where we're all kind of sharing with each other really helps us build that community. Appreciate y'all being here. I love looking at all of your pictures. Neither Luke or I are photographers. So we love seeing your pictures because they're beyond the level of pictures that he or I are capable of. So seeing such wonderful pictures is always a treat for us. And I mentioned this at the beginning. It's also a lot of fun for us. Like I said, a lot of people, when they email us, they always start off apologizing. They're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to send you a picture of this amazing bird," and so if you've ever got birds that you wonder what they are, or you just want to show them to us, we love bird pictures. So even if we're not doing an event, feel free to share them with Luke or I. We always love seeing them, seeing what you guys are up to. So yeah, living vicariously through y'all is a lot of fun.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys, and hope to see you out in the field, outside, and enjoying them together at some point down the road. Have a good one.
Thank
Have
you
a good
so
one,
much.
everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, last thing, I will send out an email a little bit later today. I'm going to upload today's presentation onto our YouTube channel. So like I said, if for any reason you needed to step away or you want to go back and just look at some of the amazing photos we saw, that'll be available a little bit later this afternoon. So be on the lookout for an email from me just to kind of recap this morning and to get you that YouTube link. So with that, we'll sign off. And again, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for helping us further our mission of protecting and helping people, inspiring people to protect and enjoy birds. And I hope to see you. We actually got another virtual presentation on Thursday about nest boxes for Western Cordilleran flycatchers. It's going to be a little bit more academic than this one was today, but I hope y'all can join me. And if not, I hope you see you out in the field sometime. All righty. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.